Hey YouTube, this will be part 2 of my beginner's guide to Fire Emblem Heroes, and today I'll be covering summoning mechanics and managing the important resources of the game. The currency used to summon in this game are orbs, and at the time of this recording, if you were to complete every quest, event, or map given to you, about 320 orbs can be claimed every month. As a new player, obviously you won't be able to do everything, but eventually you should aim to reach a point where you can get all the rewards. The way to do that is by building an army of strong units. And to do that, you summon, just like any other gacha game. When the player summons, they will be presented with a choice of 5 orbs that can either be red, blue, green, or grey, which determines what type of weapon that they use. Each summon will generally cost 5 orbs for a single summon, but on consecutive summons, this amount will decrease. The next 3 consecutive summons after the first costs 4 orbs, and the 5th consecutive summon costs 3 orbs. Which means that if you summon all 5 together in one round, you pay 20 orbs instead of 25, if you were to summon them individually. Now, Fire Emblem Heroes also gives you a free summon on your first summon of each banner, which reduces the cost of the first summon to 0, but the orb cost will also decrease after that. For example, the first summon would normally be 5 orbs, but is free. The next consecutive summons will be reduced as normal, so when you complete a full round of summoning, you will spend 15 orbs with the free summon as opposed to 20. Some people may argue that because of this cost, you may want to spend 15 orbs on every banner, but I would advise you only do the free summon and save your orbs for the banner that you really want to summon on. I'm about to do some math, and I know some of you don't care, but there will be some people who wonder where I get my numbers from. For those of you who don't care, skip about 4 minutes and 40 seconds into the video for the conclusion. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the summoning rates. The game shows a list of percentages for summonable units shown here. The focus units are featured units that have a bonus 3% allocated to them specifically. If you were to summon 5 units that are not 5 stars, the focus and 5-star percentage both increase by 0.25%, and to accommodate this change, the 4 and 3-star rarity percentages decrease. This has been dubbed the pity percentage by the fanbase, as if it were the game feeling bad for you. Because there is also a percentage for 5-star non-focus units, there is a chance that you could get a 5-star that you don't want and have your percentage reset. This unit has been aptly named the Pity Breaker, as it is generally an unwanted unit. Each percentage is allocated to each rarity regardless of color, but when we summon, we can clearly see which color a unit will be. So how is this percentage applied? The game actually answers this if you check the summoning information. This information here tells us that the heroes are determined before the color is shown, not the other way around. The percentages are also based on rarity, so we need to consider that too. This lets us calculate the probability of pulling a particular unit. As an example, let's use a hypothetical banner with 4 focus units that don't already exist in the 5-star pool, 1 focused unit for each color. Now, before I move on, I'll need to calculate the probability of a unit being a certain color if I want to determine the chance of pulling a 5-star focus unit. This is simple, and I only need to count the number of units in each rarity, so I looked at the summoning information from the game and I've sorted it into a table here, and converted these to percentages to see what the chance of pulling each unit in a particular category is. Let's say we want to go for a red focus unit, so the chances of an orb being red is probability red orb, which is 29.62%. Now, since the color was shown after the hero was determined, we have a situation where a unit is determined to be a red focus unit, given that the unit was red. If this sounds familiar, that is because it is conditional probability. We want probability of a red focus unit, which is equal to 0.75% divided by 29.62%, using the percentages from the previous table. This is equal to 2.53%, and the chances that a unit is not a red focus unit is 97.47% in this example. That number works for 1 orb, and we can use it for sniping, but how about for 5, given that a summoning session presents you with 5 options? Well, it's not as simple as multiplying probability of red focus to the power of red orbs with probability of not red focus to the power of non-red orbs. We'll work towards the actual formula. We're going to need to figure out the chance of getting a certain amount of red orbs first. One thing missing here is the amount of ways that the orbs can be rearranged, or the combinations. The formula for combinations is shown on screen, where n is the number of red orbs, and r is the number of non-red orbs. The formula for n red orbs is given by the combinations multiplied by probability of red orbs to the power of n, multiplied by probability of non-red orbs to the power of r. Say for 5 red orbs, we plug in n equals 5 and r equals 0. The amount of combinations comes out to about 1. This means that the probability of 5 red orbs appearing is 0.2962 or 29.62% to the power of 5, which is equal to 0.23%. Doing the same calculation for the rest of the combination gives us the probability for 4, 3, 2, 1, and no red orbs. Next, we need to calculate the probability of pulling a focus unit in X amount of orbs. We need to use combinations again, since the logic behind the amount of ways we can pull a focus unit in X amount of red orbs is the same as the amount of ways a red orb can appear. In case you forgot, the combinations formula we need to use is this one popping up now, but we'll need to modify it so that it's for a red focus unit, not red orbs. I'll leave it on screen for a little bit so you can convince yourselves that it's the same formula as the one on the slide. If we repeat the calculations for a focus unit for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 red orb, excluding 0 for obvious reasons, we get these percentages. There's just one more step that we need to take, and that is to multiply the probability of getting 5 red orbs with the probability of getting a focus unit in those 5 red orbs, plus the probability of getting 4 red orbs multiplied by the probability of getting a focus unit in those 4 red orbs, all the way up to 1 orb to get 3.73%. This percentage is the percentage for pulling a red focus unit for any given batch of orbs, and if I've made any mistakes in my calculations, be sure to let me know down in the comment section so I can fix it. I wouldn't want to mislead the public now, would I? So what does this mean for summoning? Why go through all the effort to do this? Well, the pity percentage introduces 2 methods of summoning. We can snipe one color, or we can summon the entire batch of orbs. Does the player only pick one color, or do they summon all the orbs? The full round percentage looks higher, so is that the better option? Actually, both methods have equal probabilities. This is because the hero is already determined before you decide to snipe or summon everything. If we have 2 red orbs and 3 non-red orbs, the decision to snipe or not comes after the heroes have been determined, and you'll summon those red orbs with both methods anyways, so it makes sense that the chances of getting a red focus unit would be the same. For a higher pity percent, the results would remain the same, only the percentages will be higher, so which method is better? There is actually an answer, and it depends on what you're going for, a particular unit or just 5 stars in general. If we're going for a particular unit, sniping is the better option, as you ignore the other colors that could potentially be a 5-star unit, and you would get the same chance of summoning a red focus unit as if you were doing a full round of summoning, but at a lower orb cost. The full round does guarantee an increase in percentage faster, but you run the risk of summoning a pity breaker. If you want a lot of 5 stars, which generally applies to the Legendary Heroes banner, where there are often many units from each color one would want to summon, a full round is the more desirable method because most of the heroes are great and you would want to get most or all of them. To recap, you generally want to snipe if you want to get a particular unit, but if you want to get any 5-star regardless of color, then you summon the full round. Alright, so we know how summoning works and how to make the most of our orbs when we summon. Now what? The next thing to keep in mind is what you can summon. Outside of the units that you want to summon, there are consolation prizes along the way that you can get. What I mean by this is summoning units that can be used for skill inheritance, or fodder. Here is a table of the better skill inheritance skills for each skill slot, and the units that you can summon them from. Never send these units home as you will need them to build current or future projects. Everything else is generally safe to send home for feathers. While summoning units, you may notice that units will vary in stats at level 1. This variance in stats is called IV, which means individual value, and it boosts a certain stat while decreasing another stat. Although rare, you can summon a neutral IV unit with no increase or decrease in stats. An increased stat due to IVs is called a boon, and a decreased stat due to IVs is called a bane. These stat differences will affect what build a unit can effectively run, but most of the time, IVs are workable in some build or another. On screen, we have 2 sheeters. The one on the left is plus HP minus defense, and the one on the right is plus attack minus res. This means that at level 40, the left sheeter will have more HP and less defense than the one on the right. The right one will have more attack and less res than the one on the left. While summoning can be fun and you may want to keep going, there will be a point in which your barracks will be maxed out, forcing you to send units home. This will be when you can expand your barracks by 5 slots for the price of 1 orb. Some people may be very stingy and not expand their barracks at all, but I would recommend that you do so when you run out of units to send home. You can expand your barracks when you need to, or in my opinion, the better method to expanding barracks is to use the one Sunday login orb to expand the barracks. This is less than 1% of the monthly orbs that you can acquire, even as a new player, and it adds up over time. Over the course of 3 months, or roughly 12 to 14 weeks, you'll have over 100 barrack space, which should accommodate the summoning that you are able to do in that time. I myself am a cautious player, and will generally expand my barracks when the unit count closes in onto my max unit space, so I never need to send home fodder units, but the choice is, of course, up to you. The last thing to talk about is merging allies. While summoning, you may pull multiples of one unit, and the game has the option to merge allies. Merging allies allows you to increase the strength of a unit's stats if the merged unit was the same rarity or below as the unit used to give the merge. As a new player, I recommend that you do not merge lower rarity units if you are planning to use or build them, as promoting a merged ally will remove the merges. Don't worry about merging just yet, and don't worry about skill inheritance just yet, or at least until you know what you're doing. Resource management is very important in this game, and it could be a while before you summon that particular unit again. This will be it for part 2, and the next episode will cover building units, skill inheritance options, and team synergy.